taking the movement apart, this is going to be a lot worse. So I also take the toothpick to other holes, such as this lever right here, which stops the clock from cuckooing. I clean out every hole there is with the toothpick, because I do this because of experience. Not doing this, putting the clock together and trying to figure out why it's not working properly, and figuring out that there was gunk inside this, not allowing it to drop freely so it wouldn't shut the cuckoo off. So anyway, I'm going to put the movement together and we'll come back. And I want to show you something with this ratchet wheel. One of the ratchets is broken. This ratchet right here is broken. It still functions properly, but this ratchet is broken. I'm gonna call it good because it still functions properly. If you haven't done this, then you really haven't worked on clocks that much. I had an E-clip go flying, and so I'm trying to find it. Yes, I have more clips. My floor needed sweeping anyway, so why not? Here I have the movement almost put together. The only thing I like is the 8-point star wheel, and I'm putting a toothpick underneath this 8-point star wheel to act as a spacer, because there was a case where a guy worked on a clock, and the clock would cuckoo slow sometimes, and then it would cuckoo normal. And come to find out, the reason why it cuckooed slow, and I have to adjust this 8-point star wheel. Let it get through cuckooing. The reason why I would cuckoo slow is because the 8-point star wheel was touching the movement. So keep that in mind when you put these things back together, to make sure that it is not touching the movement. Now do a function test. When it stopped, the third wheel warning pin was hitting this tab on the lift lock lever, rack stop lever, and this pin fell into the gathering cam with gathering pin, or what I like to call Pac-Man's mouth. And turning it over on the back, the high note and low note levers were in their proper place, and there's just a little bit of space between the hammer rod pin and the 8-point star wheel. If the pin that lifts the hammer is touching the 8-point star wheel, your cuckoo clock could be gonging when the clock goes into warning. I had one clock that about 5 minutes before it's supposed to strike, you would hear it hitting the gong. And that's because when it went into warning, this moves just ever so slightly. Stand by. Okay, as I was saying, you want to make sure that the 8-point star wheel is off the gong wire just a little bit, or it could possibly gong when the clock goes into warning. I got the music assembly here, and so now it's time to do a function test on the clock to make sure everything is working. And when it stops, I should be able to turn the lever for the music. Now, before I put this clock back into the case, I am going to put the music assembly on, and then I'm going to put a weight on and a chain to make sure that the weight functions the music. But everything else seems to be working fine. Very little pressure to get the virgin crush assembly working. Let's talk about putting the rack and snail on. When you put the snail on, I typically put it on to where the rack is going to fall into the 12 o'clock position. And then I do a function test. Stand by. Anyway, as I was saying, when I put the rack and snail on, I put it so the rack tab falls into the 12 o'clock position, and then when I got it all together, I want to do a function test. And then I rotate the snail, and that was the 12 o'clock position, and then I rotate it, that's the half hour, rotate it again, and this is the 1 o'clock position. The reason I do that is because if you don't put it correctly on this on the 12 o'clock position, and then do a function test. Every so often, some of these snails are designed to where they're a little bit wider, or maybe the tab that's on your rack is worn out so much that it's smaller, and which will cause it to cuckoo twice, a 12 o'clock position right in here, if you don't line it up correctly. So line it up, do a function test to where it goes from 12 to 1, and then do another function test to where it goes from turn it all the way around so it hits the 11 o'clock position, and do a function test to make sure that it goes from 11 to 11:30 to 12 to 1. It's a lot nicer doing the function test as the movement is out of the case versus not doing it, and then come to find out that you have to reposition the snail because it's striking too many times. There's a 12:30, and here's the 1 o'clock position, and the tab for the rack is up here in the 1 o'clock position area. So I'm going to put a chain on there, put the music on, test that out. So stand by. Sometimes you have to diagnose an issue, and sometimes you have to diagnose that issue by taking it one step at a time. The clock calls for 275 gram weights, even though most music boxes call for 320 gram weights. And when I had this assembly on, it wasn't working. It would work partly, and then it would stop. And so I wanted to diagnose what was going on. So I took that assembly off, and with the 275 gram weights with the music attached, as you can see, the music drum is spinning. If I can keep the chain on the ratchet wheel. As you can see, the music drum it's in cuckoo mode. Let me get it out of cuckoo mode because as you can see, the music box, the drum is spinning, the weight is dropping to the floor, So that part is working fine. Let's see if you could see this through my magnifying light, and I don't know whether you can see it or not. This part is working fine. However, this wheel has got a little bit of play in it. Hopefully you can see that. I'll bring it up to the camera in a second. It's got a little bit of play in it. And that tells me it needs bushings. There's too much pivot wear. Let's try one other thing. I don't know if this mechanism got bent. You see it rocking back and forth. Hopefully you can see it rocking back and forth. There's too much play in it. It needs bushings. So there's going to be a part 2 to this video, because I'm going to have to put a bushing or two in that. But I hope you are liking this video. Please hit the subscribe button. Leave me some comments. Sometimes you think it's going to be an easy fix, easy repair, and then you run into a situation like that. It was all going great until then. Like I said, I got the bellows repaired. It was all going great until then. And now it's going to take more time than what I wanted to spend on this clock. Well, that's part of life. May God bless each and every one of you.